There is an abundance of resources on how to concealed carry out there, but I don't think it's very tailored to specific body type. Body type is probably the single most important factor in how you concealed carry and wear. So my goal today is to help you troubleshoot and understand certain concealed carry problems that you might encounter if you're skinnier. So first off, I want to start with our baseline expectations and our mindset. I think it's important to understand exactly what your goals are when you're concealed carrying. This is going to dictate what equipment you choose and how much you're actually going to cater your lifestyle to your concealed carry setup. If you're in a rural community, then a lot of people aren't going to care if you're carrying a gun. But if you're operating in a more prohibitive environment, like the big city, or even your crazy anti-gun relative's house, your concealment is going to be a little more important. Regardless, for any case, whether you're on a covert mission or you're just visiting a family member, it's important to understand what your goals are. Now, today I want to focus specifically on those who have concealment as more of a requirement. I personally like to conceal as much as possible, and so I actually make a fair amount of lifestyle changes to accommodate that goal, and today's video is going to be sharing those with you. Another thing to note is, in most cases, the pistol is not going to completely disappear. Even if other people don't know it's there, you certainly will. And that is the comfort portion of things that we also need to talk about. With all these things in mind, let's get into it. I do want to note that I have everything chaptered off so you can skip to the section that you find most interesting. I've got a lot in this video about clothing specifically. If that's simply not in your interests, then you can skip past that. But as for me, I've found a lot of concealment advantages and benefits simply by being a little more mindful about the clothes that I choose to wear. Now, with mindset out of the way, I want to get into a little bit more how your use case should affect your concealment. It's not only how much concealment matters to you, it's also in what situations do you find yourself in. For instance, if you're working construction or a moving job, outside the waistband is going to be nice because it won't interfere when you try to lift something up close to your chest. However, it's also going to stick out every time you bend over and potentially reveal itself whenever you lift up above your head. Appendix carry, on the other hand, won't have these issues. It's probably not going to show unless your shirt is a little too short when you lift up above your head. On the other hand, if you're lifting something, it could bump into or ride on top of your pistol in its holster. Now, theoretically, as long as the pistol stays in the holster, I know that this is fine. But personally, when I'm carrying a large box and it's kind of interfacing and interacting with my pistol in the holster, it does make me a little bit nervous. You certainly wouldn't want to be lifting something, accidentally jostle your pistol out of your holster, and end up with an issue. On the other side of the spectrum, for those of us that work office jobs, I think appendix carry is really the answer. Gone are the days when appendix carry holsters were so uncomfortable when you sat down that you had to take them off. As a matter of fact, I find sitting down with an appendix carry holster to be just as comfortable, if not more comfortable, than carrying with an outside the waistband holster. And one thing that people don't consider is outside the waistband, you actually have to deal with the pants not covering the holster for concealment. If your shirt is not the right length, or if your holster carries too low, the end of your muzzle could potentially protrude beyond your shirt. And on the other hand, that muzzle could potentially smack up against armrests on your office chair or any number of other things. So overall, unless you're really working in an active environment where comfort is the #1 priority, then I think appendix carry is going to be the answer almost regardless of your use case. Next, I want to touch a little bit on gun selection. Now, I want to get one thing out of the way. If you've got a full-size pistol already, you don't need to go rush and sell it for a slimline. Don't get me wrong, slimline pistols do make concealment a lot easier, but my philosophy is the driving factor for the gun you choose should be based upon ergonomics and shootability in your hands. If you're tall and skinny and you've got really long fingers, then the Glock 48 is not going to have a whole lot of real estate for you to get your support hand on the grip. And yeah, while it's nice that it's super lightweight and super concealable, if it comes time to use it and it's not super usable for you, then that does defeat the purpose of carrying in the first place. And granted, a lot of this can be worked out with training, but still, it seems like these slimline pistols are getting so much hype that nobody talks about the drawbacks of capacity and grip and controllability. If you've got a Glock 48, then great. Definitely don't sell that either. It's still a solid option, but just be aware of some of the potential issues and make sure that you train to mitigate them. And since we've got gun selection established, I also want to talk a little bit about gun modifications. I think magwells are very fun for competition, and it's nice because it gives you a little more margin of error. But for EDC, it's going to be a challenge to conceal carry a magwell, especially depending upon its size. Now, for the Glocks, there are products available on the market that make it a little bit easier to reload without affecting your concealment profile. But by and large, most pistols on the market don't have very good provisions for reloading. And so that's just something that you can consider in your pistol selection. For instance, my P226 is known to be a little bit harder to reload, whereas something like a Gen 5 Glock actually has a built-in flare that's gonna make it very easy. As far as the P365 guys go, I would probably stray away from some of those aluminum grip modules with the big emphasized mag wells. Again, these are just going to be features that potentially protrude. The OEM grips on the 365s are actually great in terms of concealment, including the macro, so I would just suggest you stick with those. For red dots, I think you'd actually be surprised what you can get away with in terms of concealment. Now, there are going to be certain niche outlier setups that cause the optic to protrude an obscene amount. I'm specifically thinking about the Beretta M9 pistols and their RDO solution. We've got one example in the shop with a hollow sun that sticks up like an inch off of the slide. In that case, your optic is actually going to poke through your shirt and potentially affect your concealment. Now, it's a marginal difference, but things like the Trijicon SRO or some of the more round top hollow sun optics might actually conceal a little bit better because those features are going to look more organic and less pokey through your garment. So overall, how you modify your gun is up to you, but there are going to be certain drawbacks to certain accessories. So keep in mind the size of your mag well and your optic for your EDC setup. So this is the section where we start talking about clothing. I think it's a common misconception that you have to wear really baggy, frumpy stuff in order to concealed carry properly. There's just a few considerations here that if you change these items, you can concealed carry much better with very, very little impact on how you personally want to dress. First, I want to start with pants. Now, whether or not you wear jeans or cargo pants or something else, whether or not those are high or low or medium waisted is going to affect the comfort of the concealed carry rig. It didn't occur to me for a long time until I finally switched from a high-waisted jean to a medium-waisted jean that where the waistline is and where the belt loops are on those pants, that's gonna affect the overall ride height of your holster. I'm used to the waistline riding the holster a little bit higher and a little bit further away from my legs. So when I switched to a medium-waisted jean, it actually ended up hitting my legs more often, causing a lot of discomfort. So it's just something to consider. If you've been having discomfort with your holster, check out what type of cut your jeans are. It actually could be something as simple as the pair of pants you're wearing as opposed to the size of the concealed carry rig that you've selected. It's a lot cheaper to just go to Goodwill and find some higher waisted cotton jeans than it is to sell your holster, sell your gun, and get new gear. I would encourage you to try these cheap, inexpensive options first before going to anything more radical. I also want to touch on gun belts some. I don't want to bore you because a lot of people talk a lot about belts already, but as for me, I carry a Bigfoot gun belt. I like anything with a steel liner. You might go to a big box store and think that the belts there, since sometimes they look thick, are gonna hold up well, but honestly, nothing that you buy at the store is gonna be as good as something that you go actually online and shop for. Again, anything with a steel core is really going to do you right. I know a lot of people that love the Hunter Constantine belt, and while I've never worn it, I'm sure it's great. There is a disadvantage to running something like a leather belt, which is the fact that the adjustments have certain increments means you might be in between an increment. Too loose and the holster doesn't conceal the carry aggressive enough, and too tight and you're uncomfortable. But there are options out there with infinite adjustment that are rigid at the same time. And finally, I want to talk about arguably the most important item of your wardrobe for concealment, which is your shirt. It blows my mind that no one ever talks about the weight of the fabric of the shirt that you're wearing. And as a matter of fact, there are concealed carry companies out there that sell merch, which is a lightweight tri-blend that will totally give away your concealment almost no matter what you do. The weight of the fabric dictates exactly how that garment is going to drape over the firearm. If you're wearing something lightweight or stretchy and synthetic, it's going to contour more to the firearm and print a lot more easily. If you're wearing something that's more of a heavyweight cotton, it's going to yield less, and it's actually going to give away your concealed carry setup a lot less. This also has to do with how it drapes over your arms and shoulders. Some shirts out there that are more athletic cut are actually designed to try to show off your trim waistline, but if you're trying to hide something there, then you need to wear a different cut shirt. Forgive my enthusiasm, but I think that for a lot of people out there, if you've been having trouble with your concealment, it could be as simple as going and finding a cotton shirt with the right fabric weight. You don't necessarily have to get something super boxy or super large on your body, but even still, having that fabric weight there adds an additional buffer for your concealment that otherwise wouldn't be there. Lastly, I want to talk about holster selection and setup. Now here at Werkz, we've been known for a long time for making holsters for pistols with lights. However, there are certain instances when a non-light bearing holster will suffice and will be more comfortable than a light bearing counterpart. Therefore, we decided to add some new features to our non-light bearing holsters that I think totally change the game for skinny guys appendix carrying. Potentially the biggest advantage for guys that are skinnier is the soft and modular concealment bump. There are plenty of holsters on the market that have concealment bumps, but their rigid design makes it extremely uncomfortable. You have to consider all those bumps are doing is pushing off the soft tissue of the body in order to try to rotate the grip in for better concealment. Problem is, no holster designer is going to be able to understand the exact contours of your body, and therefore there are going to be inherent hotspots with these concealment bumps. This is mitigated by the fact that ours is made from soft rubber-like material. While it's stiff enough to still allow for that concealment benefit, it actually contours itself to the shape of your body to eliminate hotspots. When I was first prototyping this holster, I spent a lot of time specifically on the shape of the bump, and I'm extremely pleased with how it turned out. An added benefit is that it's not permanently attached to the holster. We've got 3 bump sizes that you can swap out if you want a higher or a lower bump, or you can remove the bump entirely, and the holster is not compromised in structure or in function. This means you don't have to throw out the holster if you find that the concealment bump doesn't work for you. You can actually go and either select another one or remove it. Secondly, our concealment claw is adjustable and removable. Third, if you couple the holster with a spare mag carrier, you're actually able to adjust the angle of the mag on the fly, as well as its ride height relative to the pistol. For instance, if you've got a Glock 26 with a really stubby mag, you're gonna wanna have it a little bit higher up so that it's easier to access along your waistline. But if you're running an extended magazine, you're gonna wanna move it down so that it's more stable and provides more concealment. Either way, the angle of that magazine is gonna be dictated by your priorities. If it's angled more, it could be easier to draw, but potentially print more. And if it's angled less, then it will conceal better, but potentially be harder to train. So if you're shopping for a holster, I would definitely suggest that you check out our bisect at werkz.com. I think it offers distinct advantages for all body types, and we're not aware of any other product on the market with its feature set. It truly is a little bit unique in a world full of black plastic holsters. So I hope you found the information in today's video helpful. I tried to focus on things that aren't as talked about in this industry. That being said, if you follow the tips in this video, if you get your gun selection, holster selection, and wardrobe really dialed in, I'm confident you're not gonna have problems with your comfort or concealment, even as a skinny guy. If there's anything I missed or tips that you have for others trying to conceal the carry as a skinny guy, be sure to leave them down in the comments below. And from all of us here at Werkz, have a blessed day.